Watch out for cash money, cause we landed down. Money making is my thing, cause I'm trying to be rich, trying to put away meals. That's why I'm in the studio dropping hits, dropping rap after rap like you sell key after key. Backed up by the best fresh, dropping beat after beat. My clique is the hot boys, best believe we so high and dangerous if we in beef with the whole block. No fading us at all, player, cause we roll too deep. With AKs off safety, knocking busters off their feet. I go by the name of BG. I ride on chrome and the 98 Lexi S3. I bust it down for baby on this B3. Because I know one thing, he'll do the same for me. We family, cash money is the homie, better get a Navy. So if you ever play heavy, look here, it ain't gravy. Don't try to knock me, player, cause I'll leave your head stale. Light you up real good, you will never get well. Cash money is the homie, better get a Navy. So if you ever play heavy, for you it ain't gravy. Cash money is the homie, better get a Navy. So if you ever play heavy, for you it ain't gravy.
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. It's all dog around this mug. I'm good.
Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, Timothy J. Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. This is the State of the Saints podcast post-game show. The New Orleans Saints fall to the Philadelphia Eagles at home by a score of 15-12. And man, I just want to start off by saying Vegas knew exactly what the hell they was talking about, because they had the Saints winning by 3, and it just so happened that the Eagles won this game by 3. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they put it together. I mean, people put their tinfoil hats on this situation, but they got it right. The New Orleans Saints lose to the Philadelphia Eagles in kind of heartbreaking fashion, I guess. The offense did not show up today. The offense had their struggles. They dealt with some adversity, came very early in the game. Eric McCoy went down. He is the best offensive lineman at his position. Honestly, he's the best center in football if you look at it from, a certain standpoint, the way that he's been playing. And you lose him, he leaves the game. You have Lucas Patrick slide over from the left guard to the center, and you bring in Ali Udo. And those guys had trouble, man, with that interior. I mentioned it at halftime. The New Orleans Saints, was getting their ass whooped in the trenches. I mean, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, they were just wreaking havoc. The pressure was just right in the face of Derek Carr. And I just think that, the pressure that was coming right at his face, right up the middle, kind of, made him, throw the ball a little bit late, making him, maybe underthrowing some guys. More than likely plays that he would have made the last couple of weeks he couldn't make because of that. I mean, you got to give credit what credit is due to the Philadelphia Eagles. Everybody was talking about how bad their run defense was. Oh, they were allowing 7 yards a carry, and Alvin Kamara coming off a big game. And the Saints, as a unit, they averaged 3 yards a carry in this game. And to be honest with you, if Nick Sirianni wasn't as terrible of a head coach as it can get, I just think that their game plan probably would have put the Saints out of this game. The defense was on the field way too long. The offense couldn't really get anything going. There were opportunities that the defense gave them they couldn't capitalize on. I said that I was going to have to, look at a stat where a team that has an interception, a blocked punt, and a fumble recovery in the same game, what is the record of a team that goes through that situation and loses? I guarantee you there are more games won than there are lost. And I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be in the single digits that something like that happens and you don't win a football game. But I'm not sitting up here. I ain't trying to make no excuses, man. Like, to me, the Eagles won this football game. It's just that plain and simple. I know it's a tough pill to swallow. I know that as a Saints fan, we all were excited about this team and, the direction that it was going in, all of the points, the offensive explosion, this, that, and the third. But, the Philadelphia Eagles, they came to the Superdome and they stood on business, man, and they took advantage of, the Saints' offensive line issues. They did some things, running the football with Saquon Barkley. They made the plays when it was necessary. Look, I don't care how bad the defense was tired or how exhausted they were. I can tell you this: on the 3rd and 16, you don't give up that play. Everybody and their mama know that there's only one guy more than likely getting that football at that point, and that was Dallas Goedert. And not only did he give 16 yards, he flipped it on your ass. He went and got 61 yards off a reception on a 3rd and 16. You make that tackle. I don't care if he got 12 yards. I don't care if he got 15. You do not allow a guy when they just got to drive down the field to get 61 yards on you. That is embarrassing. You got 3 guys bumping into each other, looking like Curly, Larry, and Moe up in this thing. And you just bumping all into each other. But look, regardless to that, you still have everything in front of you. You still have everything in front of you. You 2-1. Tampa lost today to the Denver Broncos. Thank you for that, Sean Payton. So they're 2-1. Saints are 2-1. And if the Falcons win tonight, they'll be 2-1. And you have to face them next week. So you still have everything ahead of you. And, I'm proud of the effort that the defense put towards during the game. They kind of kept the team in it. But the Saints kind of looked like themselves, like how they were last season, where the defense just kind of made play after play, and the offense couldn't really do anything, and then the defense just got kind of exhausted from making stops because now they got to go out there and just play as tight as they possibly can, not making any mistakes, have to play pretty much perfect because the offense isn't able to respond. The final drive by the New Orleans Saints, but Derek Carr, there was a pass that he threw to Mason Tipton. Tipton gets out of bounds, 55 seconds left in the game. You got a timeout. You were under pressure, and he just slings the ball down the field into it looked like double coverage, and Blankenship picks the ball off and ends the game. I mean, Rashid Shaheed wasn't even looking. But another thing, the defensive secondary of the Philadelphia Eagles, they kept Rashid Shaheed in check. He did not register a single stat today. 0 catches, 0 yards, all 5 targets. So they did what they needed to do, man. I'm not going to sit up here and criticize the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not going to say the refs cheated. I'm not going to say that, they lucky. No, they were not. No, they were not, man. They were not lucky. The Saints lost this football game plain and simple. Like, you can get mad at the fact that they lost because you were excited about the direction of the team. You can say all those different things. That's cool. But don't try to just sit up here and make it seem like Philadelphia did not win this football game. They seemed like they wanted this football game. They came up in there with a lot of people singing the praises of the New Orleans Saints, deeming them the best team in football, deeming them the best offense in football. Clint Kubiak, the toast of the town. Derek Carr, MVP candidate. Alvin Kamara up for Offensive Player of the Year. The offensive line looking formidable. They heard all these things. And that's why they have that old saying, "Who that nation? You're not as good as you say you are, and you're not as bad as you say you are." And in a part of me, number one, I'm upset that the Saints lost. Don't get me wrong. But a part of me kind of feels a little bit better about this whole situation because we all know that now that the Saints have lost, the media is going to kind of, shy away, kind of like that Homer Simpson meme when he just going lurking back into the bushes. Because now everybody's going to be singing the praises of Philadelphia. Oh, the game versus Atlanta, they should have won that game. They should be 3-0 right now. So let them go ahead and say all those things. Let them say that the Atlanta Falcons going to win the division in Tampa, and let the Saints completely fly under the radar and continue to do some of the things that have gotten you success over the last couple of weeks to start the season. Look at the tape, learn from the mistakes that you made, because to be honest with you, looking at this game offensively, it was sloppy. Guys were missing blocking assignments. Dudes was getting basically ran over. I mean, it was, a lot of plays in the backfield because Alvin Kamara couldn't really find space. Up the middle was pretty much non-existent after Eric McCoy left. So the New Orleans Saints, they got a lot of stuff that they have to learn. But I'd rather you learn 3 weeks into the season than to be dealing with this late in the season when tiebreakers are on the line, or you have to be able to win football games in order for you to get into postseason play. I'm like I said, I'm happy that you got this punch in the mouth early, because if you didn't, then it would have hurt a lot worse. I'm upset that they lost today, just like every other Saints fan. I want to see the Saints win every week, but at least you had this little slip up early in the season, and it's all about how you're going to respond. Everybody wanted to know how the New Orleans Saints were going to respond after adversity, after they go through some type of adversity, and today it wasn't their day. They wasn't able to answer those questions. But I did see some things late in the game. I mean, Derek Carr did throw a touchdown pass to Chris Olave late in the game. It was just that whole Dallas Goedert, just busted coverage, play that just got them in that position. But all in all, you learn from these mistakes, you get better, and you move on. Want to acknowledge David for the $5 donations. He says temporary stoppage on a Clint Kubiak Genius talk. Don't worry, though. He'll claim that status back next week. Man, Saquon tore us up. Yeah, man. I mean, Saquon Barkley wasn't really a factor early in the game. They made the halftime adjustments, man. Like Philadelphia made halftime adjustments and the Saints made none. Somebody please tell me what were the halftime adjustments for the New Orleans Saints. I just want to know. I just want to know what were the halftime adjustments for the New Orleans Saints. Somebody please tell me that, because I didn't see anything. I seen Andy Dalton against the Arizona Cardinals. Keep doing what you're doing. Like, you got to be able to make those adjustments. They understood, I'm talking Philadelphia, that they weren't utilizing Saquon in the first half. They went out there and they gave the New Orleans Saints a heavy dose of Saquon Barkley. And here's another thing. While we're sitting up here complaining and talking about, the offensive line is the reason why we lost. Well, you can say the same thing about the Philadelphia Eagles, man. Look, man, I'm telling you, I'm not one of them people that just going to sit up here and just blow smoke up your ass. I'm just not. If we're going to sit up here and talk about Eric McCoy going down and Cesar Ruiz leaving the game, Lane Johnson left with a concussion, and Mekhi Becton, their starting guard, he ended up leaving the game too. So they had offensive line issues too, and they had to play with backup offensive linemen. We may not want to hear that, but that's the reality, man. That's why I'm saying, like, you got to give the Philadelphia Eagles credit. I'm not going to sit up here and make excuses, because if I'm going to sit up here and make excuses, I can't like sit up there and make fun of Falcon fans or any other fans when they have misfortunes. I'm just not going to do it. They had to overcome levels of adversity. They didn't have A.J. Brown. Devontae Smith got knocked out of the game. You only basically had one pass catcher, and that was Dallas Goedert. You had Johnny Wilson, a rookie out of Florida State. You had Jahan Dotson, who you got via trade if you're Philadelphia. So they were behind the 8 ball too, man. So let's not play that game, all right? Sometimes it's just not your week. Sometimes you're just not going to win a football game. That don't mean that you're terrible. That don't mean that you suck. That don't mean that your season is going to go haywire. Just means that you lost a football game. I don't care who you are. You can be the greatest of all time. There's only very few people that I can just think of that just never got hit in the mouth. Floyd Mayweather is one of them. Like, that just, even he got hit in the mouth. He ain't never got knocked out or lost. But there's only, if you play the game long enough, eventually you're going to lose. And once again, you're never as good as they say you are, and you're never as bad as they say you are. Did Saquon ever drop one ball today? I was worried all week that he would star on it today. My nightmare unfortunately come true. Who that for life? Well, I tell you what, Saquon Barkley in the Superdome is what Alvin Kamara is to the Minnesota Vikings, because he did the same thing. I know y'all remember that game a couple of years ago when he was with the New York Giants and he ran roughshod over the New Orleans Saints at that time. Look, it was just a good game plan, man. The Saints just lost today. I'm not making no excuses, man. I am not going to make excuses for this loss. The Saints lost this football game, plain and simple. The Eagles were just better on this day. I talked so much this week to Eagles fans. Well, like, man, I told a lot of people, and I said this on the NFC South Roundtable, and I also said it here on the State of the Saints podcast. I said this game concerns me more than the Dallas Cowboy game. I said it. I said this game concerns me because of the dynamic of Jalen Hurts, his ability to be able to move around in the pocket. And you don't have to just move around in the pocket like just to get out of the pocket and get your Lamar Jackson or your Michael Vick on. You can move outside the pocket to extend plays, because there was a couple plays where when Jalen Hurts moved out the pocket, the wide receivers were able to break off their routes and run to him, and he was able to throw them the football. So those are the type of plays, because now you're playing a little bit of like some park ball, right? Where there's nothing really, strategic about it. Like, man, just run as far as you can to the lamppost, and I'm going to throw you this football. That's kind of like what it was. So those mobile quarterbacks just always seem to give the New Orleans Saints fits, man. They just always seem to do that, man. I just don't understand why, but that he does pose a threat. And this was one of the reasons why I was very concerned about this game. I thought maybe the Saints would be able to get out of there with a victory because of the absence of AJ Brown. And I just felt like the New Orleans Saints were kind of clicking on all cylinders at the time, but that game always concerned me, man. It's from the beginning of the season. Eagles always play us tough, but plus we haven't hit our learning curve yet. So maybe today's the start of that. But Clint wasn't designing runs like usual. Well, I think that it had a lot to do with the offensive line, man. I think that it had a lot to do with the offensive line not really being in sync. I mean, you go into a week where Lucas Patrick believes he's going to be a left guard and Eric McCoy is going to be out there, and you're not going to really see Ali Udoh. I mean, these guys, they were out there the last couple of weeks as a unit. And, when you switching things around, you got Lucas Patrick sliding over the center. You got Ali Udoh out there playing, and you also got to be able to, communicate. You're communicating with guys, and two guys that aren't in their natural position. You got Ali Udoh, who basically just plays along the offensive line. And you got Lucas Patrick, who, to be quite honest with you, just, he's a solid offensive lineman at best. So you were just behind the 8-ball, man. It just wasn't your day. Just wasn't your day, man. Jordan, thank you very much for the 499. Said coaches called us this one horrible 2-point conversion call from Clint. Horrible call to put defenses in man-to-man on a 3rd and 16. Still a good loss. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of plays that they can go back and take a look at, but I mean, if the offense was able to do anything, the defense was able to give them opportunities to be able to put points on the board, and they just couldn't do anything with it. I mean, it's just that plain and simple, man. I just think it was a combination of things. I ain't just about to sit up here and just say it was coaching. I think it was a lot of things. I think it was the offense not being able to get in sync. I believe that it was the play calling, in some cases. I don't even want, I got to go back and take a look. I don't even think the play calling was just that horrible. I think that the offense just wasn't able to move the football. And like I said, the blocking assignments weren't there. Guys were whiffing on blocks, and, you had some missed tackles. I can just think of, there was one play. There was the wide receiver, what's his name? I think Cover or something like that. The guy out of BYU, the wide receiver for Philly. So you had Jalen Hurts throw him the ball in the backfield on a wide receiver screen, and it was just one-on-one, him versus Paulson Adebo, and he just beats Paulson Adebo to the side. I mean, on that play, I want to say maybe it was like a 3rd down or something. You make that tackle, you're getting off the field. Then there was another play. Johnny Wilson, caught a pass for a 1st down. So it was a couple plays where they actually missed tackles, in the backfield. Lante Taylor missed the tackle. So there was some plays that if you make them, then, there's not going to, then you getting the ball back, or, they're punting the football, or, you got to be able to take advantage of that. And I don't think the Saints did. So I said, just tough day at the office. Keno, thank you very much for $2. Says I like a nasty lineman, but penny out of pocket. Well, yeah, he was kind of out of pocket for that. To be honest with you, that didn't really hurt them or anything like that. Didn't they score on that drive? So yeah, but it would have been worse if they didn't get anything out of that drive. Did they get? Or was that drive where Alvin Kamara was a yard short? I can't remember, but got to go back and take a look. But man, it was I think that that offensive line, Trevor Petty blocking Darius Slay out of bounds. Man, this man maybe watched The Blind Side or something like that before they went out there. He was looking at Michael Orr block that guy, all the way out of the stand into the stands, I should say. I don't know. But I like the aggression. I like the aggression, but you got to be able to kind of keep that in check. You even had, like, if you go back and watch the replay, you can look at the Saints coaches tell him, let go, and he's still up there. So I don't know if Darius Slay said something to him or what, but Axel Bump says, I blame TJ Jones. Well, I don't have nothing to do with that. I had nothing to do with this loss. By the way, TJ, there's no more doubt. Caleb Johnson is the best running back in college football right now, and it's not close. Yeah, that guy's a pretty a good running back, man. He's talented. Like 6 feet, 225 pounds, big physical back. Kind of fits that style of an Iowa running back. And we left a potential 3 points out there by going for it on 4th down. And why not quarterback sneak? Was it thrall down? Maybe or have AK go straight up the middle. Yeah, man, you run up the middle on that. Like, they got a little bit too cute trying to line up in a wildcat. Like, what the hell are you doing? And to me, you kind of knew that your offensive line was kind of getting slapped around in the trenches, especially, in the interior there. You know that Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter were getting penetration. So I just didn't understand that. Like, it was going to be tough for you to be able to run up the middle anyway because of those two big men up front. So why would you, I guess, to have Alvin Kamara snap the ball, get a head start or something? I don't know, man, but I just think that maybe you should have just put your head down, run the football. Maybe, on 4th down, maybe it's 4th and inches instead of a straight up 4th and 1, and maybe you would have got it. But, they were able to make that stop, man. They were able to make that stop. Credit to Zach Bond. Zach Bond is making plays. He's gotten the opportunity, and I'm pretty sure he was pretty game for this. He was really excited about this game, man. I mean, a team that drafted you, basically put you on special teams, said that that's basically what you are. And now, he's out there making plays. He's flying all over the field. Let me see Zach Bond stat line. I'm not hating. Zach Bond had 13 tackles in this game. 13 tackles. So, I'm happy for the guy. I ain't gonna hate on him, because I mean, imagine if that was you. How many of us work at a job where we underutilized and people don't think that we have the capabilities and all we need is a chance? So it's unfortunate that it happened against the Saints, but I'm happy that man is finding production and he's making plays for his respected team. Already read that. Lee says, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the 499. Lee says, TJ, this is a tough pill to swallow, but I'd rather lose to the Eagles than the Falcons. So we got to bounce back and get ready for next week. Yeah, look, I think it's a tough pill to swallow, especially since we know that the Eagle fans and how they are, the fact that they rented out a float, riding down Canal Street, had a second line going, and I'm pretty sure they had a second line on their way out of the stadium. But all in all, they deserve to have that moment. But I'm pretty sure if the Saints play their cards right and they continue to keep their head down, they'll see Philly again. And maybe the outcome will be a little bit different. That's just the way I feel about it. Like, football is the game of emotions. Like, you got to be able to channel that emotion. You can't be too high. You can't be too low. You can't be, looking at your press clippings. You can't be looking at your stat line at halftime. And you can't be watching Monday Morning Quarterback because that stuff don't always really tell the story. That's why I don't even pay attention to it. I really just don't even really pay that much attention to, like, the things that be going on. Like the only people I really be following and paying attention to is the people that cover the team. Those are the ones that I pay attention to those are the ones that, that I get my information from. Like all the rest of these like sports media personalities, for the most part, not all of them, but you have a nice little sample size of them. They just try to make sure they maintain a job and try to be entertaining so the checks can keep running in. They don't know that much about football, especially from a Saint standpoint. They probably, know they like the Cowboys are playing right now. They down 14-3, right? They probably paying more attention to that game than the Saints game, right? So why should we care? I really like to see what the statistics say about a team losing when they get a pick, fumble, and I already mentioned that, Brandon. I already mentioned that. I don't know, man, but I know that is not the norm right there. That is not the norm. And then, which making this even better to me is the fact, once again, the Baltimore Ravens are playing against the Dallas Cowboys right now, and they are 14-3. So you know what they're going to say? They're going to say that the Dallas Cowboys aren't that good, and that explains why the Saints were able to put up 40-some-odd points on them. So I'm good with that. Like, everything is kind of getting back to normal. Everything is kind of getting, like, it's cool, man. Like, it's okay to fly under the radar. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with flying under the radar. Fly under the radar. Get yourself better. Work on the things that you need to work on. People, the thing about it is, ain't nobody gonna be willing to jump out of a window again for you. The Saints are gonna have to like really go on the streak for anybody to kind of get behind this football team. They're gonna have to like really go on the streak. And then, to be quite honest with you, they're gonna be looking at, should we embrace them? So I'm good with it. I'm good with it. And you should be too. CJ running his lips, but got cooked all game. Yeah, I mean, man, he made some plays, but he did get cooked by Chris Olave on that. Morrow couldn't block his own shadow today. Yeah, I mean, it was a tough day for Foster Moreau. I will admit that. It was a tough day for him, but I mean, it was just tough all across the board for that offensive line, man. I mean, to be honest with you, Trevor Penning, Tallahassee Fuaga, they probably were the two best offensive linemen out there. Like, I mean, Lucas Patrick there was one play. And you had Jordan Davis just push this guy aside like he was just a child. Like, he just moved, like, get out of my way, man. Like, it didn't even really matter. Tallahassee Fuaga was like really good today. I mean, this guy continues to like show like he's going to be like that cornerstone offensive lineman. Cesar Ruiz, he had a rough day. Ali Udo, I mean, God bless the brother. He was just out there. Man. It was just tough. But people will go back and say, like, oh man, nobody really protected Derek Carr. He could have made some plays. Nah, bro. Nah. Derek Carr is exactly what everybody says that he is. He's going to look really good. There's going to be times where he looks like he's the best quarterback in football. But he is not designed. People in the chat was trying to get at me for saying this, but I'm just telling you, man. I used that Seinfeld example so many times. I said Jerry Seinfeld was a comedian. He was not an actor. So they wanted to do the Seinfeld show, but they put three really good actors around him in order to kind of cover up the fact that he was not a good actor. Like, he can be funny. There were moments where, he stood out in the show, of course, but it was the other people around him that made him special. Like, it made that show a phenomenon. Derek Carr is not the type of quarterback that is going to lead you consistently. And teams know that. They knew that all they had to do was stop and neutralize Alvin Kamara, and they would be able to win the football game because they felt that they have a really good chance of winning if Derek Carr is throwing the football all over the place. If Derek Carr is the one that has the ball in his hand more times than not. I'm just telling y'all what it is. I'm not hating on Derek Carr. I'm not saying that Derek Carr is terrible. He is not. But you need balance. Like, Derek Carr is, at this stage, he's Brock Purdy. He is Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy will probably look really stellar a game, right? If he's throwing the ball to like certain players, right? If he's getting the ball into the hands of Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle and all of them, like he looks the part. But now you have George Kittle, if I'm not mistaken. Now you have Deebo Samuel that's out. You got Christian McCaffrey that's out. And look at him. Like, you're not going to win games consistently because of him. There's going to be games where people are like, well, Derek Carr, he facilitated 33. Like, okay, he facilitated 33 four-quarter comebacks. He has that capability. But if you're asking me, is this the guy that you can really count on to put the team on back? Like, to put the team on the back. Like, and bruh, I'm sorry. This needs to be said. This needs to be said. Can we stop when we making mistakes? Can we stop acting like we raving in pain and and really hurt, when we make mistakes? I'm sorry, but it just seems to me every time Derek Carr makes a mistake that's egregious, all of a sudden he comes crawling off the ground, limping. Like, nah, bro, you shouldn't have threw that ball into triple coverage. It's just that simple, man. Like, I watched the game. You done got hit in the chops quite a few times in this game, and you just got right back up when incomplete. I don't know, like, maybe I'm out of pocket for saying this, but it just seems to me every time this dude makes a mistake, egregious mistake, a flagrant mistake, he all of a sudden, like, my shoulder hurt, I'm gasping for air. Like, dude, you just made a mistake. It ain't had nothing to do with, you just getting hit in the face like that. Honestly, you let the ball loose before the dudes hit you. So he's been playing great these last couple of weeks. This game right here, it was, they got away from the things that made them successful over the last couple of weeks. But in this particular case, I'm sorry, but I may be out of pocket for saying this out loud, but it just seems to me like if the Saints aren't grandstanding, if the Saints aren't winning, winning a game like that's insurmountable, if it's like competitive to a point and they don't get what they need, all of a sudden I'm just looking at this man crawling on the ground hurt. Like, I'm just, maybe I'm out of pocket. Maybe I'm wrong for feeling this way, but bruh, just go back and watch the tape. Skater 104, thank you for the $5. Said Derek Carr led all NFL quarterback for four-quarter comebacks. What that had to do with what happened today? What that got to do with what happened today? What that got to do with what happened today? And here's the thing. Let's stop using these stats like they tell a whole story. For example, everybody was telling me that the reason why they felt so strongly about the Saints winning was because Philadelphia Eagles had the 27th worst rushing defense in football. They were allowing teams 7 yards per clip over the last couple of weeks. Now, did they look like a team today that allowed teams to rush for 7 yards a game over the last 3 weeks or the last 2 weeks? No, they did not. So we can always try to put up these stats to justify things, but they don't always tell the story. Just because they look a certain way, just because they do certain things, don't always mean that they tell the entire story. Because what I would say to a person, if he has 33 four-quarter comebacks, how did they find themselves in that position 33 times? Dude shouldn't have threw that football, long story short. Shouldn't have threw the football. I like Derek Carr has been playing really well this season. He has. But you don't throw that football. You don't throw that football, folks. You just don't. Shouldn't let a tight end go for 170. Props to the Eagles, but like you said, TJ, it was best for us to hit this type of dogfight and adversity now versus later. Yeah, man, look, it's rather you get this now than to get it later, and it really hurts. Shouts out to my mom. She calls you like, oh, what you think about it? I'm like, well, they lost, like I didn't expect for the New Orleans Saints to go undefeated the entire game. The entire season, I should say. I'm looking at the chat and talking at the same time. But Yeah, I didn't expect that. You thought they was gonna lose some games, right? I mean, hey, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not gonna always be your day. It's not gonna always be your day, man. I don't mean that you're a terrible football team. Ain't time to panic or anything like that. It just shows you that you're not as good as they say you are, not as bad as they say you are. But I do want to acknowledge the State of Saints podcast powered by BETUS. Sign up and get up to 150% on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000 and 125% up to 125% on your second and third deposit. Like today, if you bet that the New Orleans Saints would win by 3, then I feel bad for you. But if you felt that the Eagles would have won by 3 today, then you cashed in, man. So they were +3 against the New Orleans Saints, and the game ended up 15-12. But there's so many other games that you can choose from. There's a game tonight, Falcons versus Chiefs. I don't know exactly what the line is right there. Let me go ahead and try to see if I can actually pull that up for those that may want to know about that. But that should be a game that a lot of members of the Who Dat Nation are going to be paying attention to. That's a game that can really help or hinder the New Orleans Saints in a way. I'm just trying to pull up to try to see what the line is for that game. All right, so we have the Kansas City Chiefs and Atlanta Falcons. The Kansas City Chiefs are -3, man. So another -3 game going into a Mercedes-Benz Stadium, taking on the Atlanta Falcons, coming off a very emotional victory over the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football. Sometimes, man, it's better to be lucky than to be good. It's one of those situations, man. Like, because as many times as the Falcons have been on the receiving end of situations like the Saints experienced today, they were able to be on the winning side on Monday night. But -3 for the Kansas City Chiefs. So you can place your bets at BETUS. Once again, 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit, 125% on your second and third. Thank you to the fine folks at BETUS. Let's get back to the comments, man. Says every single time, TJ. Ro is laughing. Tampa Supreme, didn't y'all lose too? Why you here? He's here because, man, he support the show, man. Like, look, we welcome all members of the NFC South. Like, that's what we welcome all members. Members of the Who Dat Nation. I'm appreciative of that. But if somebody want to stop by and talk a little bit of trash, like, man, look, we can't dish it and not be able to take it sometimes. Like, if it's somebody like going way out of pocket, I can understand that. But we can't beat on our chest and talk about who's next like we Goldberg or something. And then when we lose, then all of a sudden we don't want to hear that. I want to hear the fact that you got Falcon fans up there, trolling me on social media. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? No, it bothers me. Of course it does. But at the end of the day, when they lose, I'm doing the same exact thing. So, you got to be able to take it sometimes. You may not want to accept it, but hey, it is what it is. And yes, Tampa did lose today, but I appreciate every fan base that is here. I don't care if you're here from the Eagles. I don't care if you're here from the Falcons. I don't care if you're here from the Bucks, the Carolina Panthers, or whatever team that you rep. I just appreciate your time stopping by, because at the end of the day, we all sports fans and we all want what's best for our team. Let's see. Wallace says, TJ, you're not wrong for saying that. Shazam says, facts. I just hope we bounce back. Well, like I said, we'll see. Everybody's been singing your praises. Let's see how you respond. But I can tell you this, there are going to be a lot of teams that are going to be going into games versus the Saints looking to stop the run. They're going to be looking to stop the run and neutralize Alvin Kamara, and hopefully Alvin is okay, because he stayed down on the ground. He was in some pain, man, towards the end of the drive, which I feel like that was the reason why Jamal Williams was in the game during that 2-point conversion, because I feel like if Alvin wasn't, didn't get hurt, then he probably would have been out there. One game, everybody losing their minds. Well, let's see. We were praised DC the last 2 weeks. Now it's his fault. Well, that's just the way that it goes. That's why, I was saying, And football is the game of emotions. Like when the team is riding high, everybody's excited, everybody ready to say who that, right? And when they lose, it's just everybody's fault. It's everybody's fault. The popcorn man didn't put butter on my popcorn. I'm sitting next to somebody that got some weird juju, like, man, you lose, man. You lose. Sometimes the game plans that you come up with just not enough. That don't mean something wrong with your football team. Like to be honest with you, did you expect the New Orleans Saints to be in this position at the beginning of the season? Like everybody expected them to kind of, okay, we're gonna beat Carolina, and in all honesty, nobody expected you to beat the Cowboys, and nobody expected you to beat the Eagles. It was just the fact that you got off to a roaring start that everybody just started picking you. But ain't nobody expecting the New Orleans Saints to be in this position. So the fact that you actually started off 2-0, you're actually exceeding expectations. And if you can go into Atlanta and knock off the Falcons, then you're 3-1. And then after that, you're playing against the Kansas City Chiefs. So if you end up 3-2 out of this 5-game, little, murderous row, you're in business. And there's a strong chance, based on what I've seen, they can go 4-1. Like this is a really good team, because this is what you want, man. Like you want the offense, what I'm saying, to be able to have to deal with this type of adversity. Your defense was good, but I don't expect this offense to be looking the way that it did all season long. You didn't have Taysom Hill out there. Taysom Hill plays like a huge role in what the Saints do offensively. And that includes the blocking. That includes the running in between the tackles. The absence of Taysom Hill was tremendous in this game. The absence of Eric McCoy was tremendous in this game. So, to me, it's like, bro, you had some bright spots that were missing from this team. So, with that, that more than likely, I hope, Taysom Hill will play next week, and that'll be beneficial to you offensively. And also, I don't know the status of Eric McCoy. I mean, him not coming back into the game, I don't know. Maybe they'll probably want to sit him out a week or something. But, all in all, man, I mean, at least you got some weaponry that's away. But I will say this, man, these other players like Juwan Johnson, Paulson Monroe, man, they got to get these dudes involved. And this is what my concern was. This was my main concern. I said that the offense was in teams are kind of blanketing these guys. Like, who is going to step up? I want to say Cedric Wilson had maybe one catch. Mason Tipton, like these guys aren't moving a needle, man. So it was some things that I feel like Saints fans, we needed to see. I think the team, they needed to see that, hey, like just because these issues that y'all been having in the offseason haven't shown themselves over the last couple of weeks, they still exist. And it's up to you to be able to fix these things. We're going to see who the Saints really are. And we've been seeing. Yo, TJ, if not for Jalen Hurts, this game should have been a blowout for the Eagles. Hurts kept the Saints in the game. Him and Nick Sirianni kept them in the game. Exactly. You don't give up no touchdowns in that moment. Yeah, you can't give up a touchdown in that moment right there, man. That to me was just, that was flagrant. That was flagrant. In my humble opinion, that was just flagrant. Like, you do not, like, I don't care how tired you is. I don't care if you about to walk over there and put the oxygen mask on. You don't give up a play like that to the best receiving player on the team because Devontae Smith left. You just don't, man. And they're gonna go back and they're gonna watch that. But like I said, sometimes it's good to get humble. Good to get humbled every now and then. Let's see. Shouldn't let a tight end go for 170. Props to the Eagles, but like you said, TJ, it was best for. Already read that. David, thank you very much. $5 says Ravens looking good against them Cowboys. Derek Henry started to look like Juggernaut from X-Men again, running through and around people. Well, it doesn't look like this is going to be a good season for the Dallas Cowboys. they probably gonna be going in a different direction, for a head coach. So I don't know. Let's see. I told you Nick not going to make it to the whole season, TJ. You said I told you Nick not going to make it through the whole season. You talking about Nick Sirianni? Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, yeah, he pretty terrible, man. Like, I get it. Like, you want to trust your offense, and you want to trust your team. You want to give them, inject that belief in your team. Like, man, I believe in y'all. I feel like y'all can get the job done. But sometimes, man, you got to be smart. Sometimes you got to be smart. I feel like some things that the New Orleans Saints, I just hoping that there will be a little bit of a difference, but there's a little bit of a difference. But every now and then they just kind of rear their ugly head. Like I just didn't understand the fact of that 4th and 1, like trying to go for it on the 4th and 1. Like yards have been so hard to come by the entire game. You got to be able to take the points, man. Bring Blake Groupie out there. He kicks that field goal. Now, if the Eagles would have scored, it would have been 15-15. But I digress. The lack of production due to any player being absent is a coaching staff issue. Your backups must be ready at any given chance, says Sean. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I'm not making excuses for the offensive line. Oh, the reason why they lost is because Eric McCoy played a huge role. And, his absence played a huge role at how and why the defensive tackles of Philadelphia, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, were able to get pressure on Derek Carr and be able to stop the run. It did. But we can't just sit up here and just not look at the fact that Lane Johnson left the game. Lane Johnson is one of the best right tackles in football. Mekhi Becton, when he's well, he's pretty formidable. He played a lot of football with the New York Jets before he came to the Philadelphia Eagles. He was out of the game. So they had offensive line issues too. So you got to be able, just like Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter took advantage of Lucas Patrick playing center and Ali Udoh coming in to replace Lucas Patrick at the left guard position because of the injury that Eric McCoy sustained. Like, you were supposed to do the same doggone thing, right? Against a backup offensive lineman, but you weren't able to. TJ, what do you think? A.T. Perry is inactive every week. I don't think he's injured. Nah, he's a healthy scratch. Because the Saints don't have that type of personnel anymore. When they just, parade out 5 and 6 receivers, like, they don't do that no more. They don't. And honestly, I guess they feel like Mason Tipton is better suited for what they're trying to do. But they're going to have to get some of these other guys involved, man. You can't just, make it the Olave and Shaheed show. That's just basically where the ball was going every time. And you had a check down option to Foster Monroe. Like, you got to be able to, find somebody else that's going to be able to make plays. Because even like, even with the 49ers, like, yeah, they got Brandon Ayuk. Yeah, but, they also have Deebo Samuels. If Deebo Samuels getting covered, they got George Kittle. If George Kittle getting covered, they got, Christian McCaffrey. They got, the other wide receiver, I think, his name's Juwan. I can't think of his last name. But, yeah, Jennings. Yeah, Jennings. They got Jennings out there, so they got all these different talented guys. So if you going to blanket him, okay, cool, man. Let me go ahead and throw this ball up to Juwan Jennings. Let me throw this ball to, to Brandon Ayuk. You got to be able to have, like, different guys that you could utilize when, the coverage is being, rolled to a certain player that plays a huge role. So that's what I'm saying. Like, he's a Juwan Jennings got 2 touchdowns right now. A lot of the things, look, I think that if you're upset and really mad today, I think that one of the main reasons why you're upset and mad is the fact that you actually believe that things were actually different than what your eyes were telling you. Because the last couple of weeks, like, we were kind of shielded from the real things that are going on. It's almost like, if you ever seen the movie The Wizard of Oz, right? And, when they first seen the wizard, it was this big old head and smoke puffing up and stuff like that. And had everybody scared, right? Everybody, oh my God. You got the lion jumping out of the window. You got Tin Man running down the hallway. But, when they went back, it turns out, Toto ended up pulling back the curtain, and they realized that it was somebody on the other side that was controlling this big, huge head, putting together the smoke and everything like that, right? And they realized the wizard was just a guy. If you ain't never seen The Wizard of Oz, man, please check it out. It's a timeless classic. But all I'm saying is they covered up a lot of their imperfections for the last couple of weeks. And we wanted to believe that the things that we didn't see or what we heard about were not true. And when they got off to that start, we felt like, Mel, maybe it is different. Maybe this is, maybe we were tripping. So they kind of got off to this start where they were scoring all these points. And now we were beating on our chest and all excited. And we felt confident enough to be able to say, man, your team ain't got a chance. And then, reality hits. You only can cover it up for so long. It's only a matter of time before the emperor realizes that he has no clothes. It's only a matter of time before the people start laughing at him. So they got to fix this issue. They got to fix it. They got to fix it, man. Right? Like the last couple of weeks, they were like the big wizard, right? The all-powerful wizard who disturbs my slumber, right? Like who, what I'm saying? Like it was scary, right? Oh my God, look at the size of this guy's head, all the smoke, get me out of here. Now you just realize the wizard in the back room. He's just in the back room pulling levers, right? Pulling levers to try to put this smoke together to scare you off. But now everybody just sees the wizard, right? So we off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. The screen pass was there with their aggressive defense. We never ran it, or what never ran it. I guess you're saying we never ran it. Plus, we could have field goals on some of those points, but Blake Groupie been wishy-washy. Yeah, man. Hey, I'm gonna tell y'all, sometimes you can tell a day by the kicker. And when he doinked that joint off the right crossbar and it went in, it's like, yeah, what? Well, maybe one of them days, folks. Maybe one of them days. TJ the GOAT, Drew Brees, cooked a heckler who said, "Hey, Drew, go Birds." Drew responded, "I got a great record against you guys. Shout out to the GOAT." Well, I'm going to say this, man. Speaking of the GOAT, can we please stop bringing Drew Brees to these disappointing, heartbreaking losses? Like, seriously, every time we feature Drew Brees or honor Drew Brees in a certain way or ask Drew Brees to do something, look at the Carolina Panthers, man. Wait a minute. Carolina Panthers up 21-7 on them Raiders. Well, Andy Dalton doing what Andy Dalton does, right? Andy Dalton, another version of Derek Carr. Go look all world one week. Look like what the hell happened the next week. But Carolina, man, they up 21-7 right now. But anyway, but yeah, when you look at this Saints team, like I said, they still got everything ahead of them. They got everything ahead of them. I'm not, and like I said, sometimes you can kind of tell how bad, how a game is going to go. And lastly, with King Arthur, with his comment, because I'm trying to play catch up right now. The whole Drew Brees situation. Let's stop bringing Drew Brees to some of these disappointing games, man. All right. Every time we honor Drew Brees, the Saints go out here and they just lose. Okay. Let's stop bringing Drew Brees to the games. All right. Allow this man to stay at home if we're going to go out here and just, lay an egg in front of a live audience like this, man. And then, like, I don't know, man. Drew Brees could be somewhere else. Drew Brees could be somewhere. He can be at his house somewhere. We're going to be playing like this. Sick of the batted balls. Took 2 games to figure out Kubiak. I don't want to say they figured him out. I don't think they figured him out. It was, man, like the run defense, they just put emphasis on it, man. They just put emphasis on it. And look, Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder could see that the straw that stirs the drink is not Derek Carr. Yeah, we fall in love with them 70-yard bombs. Oh, look how he threw the ball down the field to Shaheed. We need to pay attention. No. Alvin Kamara is what makes this offense go. They went into the game. I'm talking Philly. They went into that game trying to neutralize Alvin Kamara because Alvin Kamara is the offensive weapon that you respect. He is the one that you're spending hours on end trying to shut down. You're not paying attention to Derek Carr. Not like that. You're just not. Derek, like you take away the running game, you no longer have what Derek Carr does best, which is the play action. You don't have the explosive plays down the field because you shut down Alvin Kamara. Plain and simple. And that's what teams are going to be doing all season long. They are okay. I want y'all to understand this. They are okay with Derek Carr going out there, throwing the ball 25, 30 times, even if he's finding success. Do you understand that these teams look at Derek Carr at times like how teams look at Dak Prescott? Dak Prescott going to put up like astronomical numbers at times. He's going to throw 300 yards. But guess what? There's going to be time where he throw you that football. Just be ready to catch it. That is how they look at Derek Carr. That is how they look at him. Let's see. I love what the team is doing, but I said the only way to beat the Saints is to get Carr uncomfortable, and he turned into his brother. Well, look, like I said, it's going to be like this. I want Saints fans to understand. In nip-tuck, phone boot type games, it is going to be like this. It is going to be teams shutting down Alvin Kamara. And like I said, I hope everything's okay with Alvin. I hope he's doing okay because, like I said, he left the game and it looked kind of serious. He stayed on the ground. But they're going to be looking to try to shut down AK. And when they shut down AK, they're going to be like, okay, I'm okay with Derek Carr throwing the football. I'm okay with it. And there are going to be times where you're going to have some diehard Derek Carr can't do no wrong supporters to come in and they're going to be like, you know what, Derek Carr, man, he like, I told y'all, man, you could put the team on Derek's back. But the following week or a couple weeks from there, you're going to look like, man, what in the world is going on here? The Saints are a balanced football team right now. And if the Saints going to find success for the foreseeable future, they're going to have a balanced attack. Well, now y'all see what it looks like when Carr don't have wide open receivers. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there were some plays. There were some plays that they were open. But also, man, there were some plays where I feel like the Saints didn't capitalize on. Like Rashid Shaheed should have at least had a touchdown. Like if Derek Carr would have threw the ball to him a little bit further out, I think that maybe if he would have stepped into the throw, I think that he probably would have ended up catching the touchdown. But Shaheed had to actually turn back around to try to catch the ball, and that's what got Quentin Mitchell, back into the picture where he could actually make a deflection. See, I don't understand why our team defense secondary aren't holding on them on the field. For TJ is sad and shameful. For offensive linemen on the game is totally insane and beyond me for this. They need to get the guys right on the direction with the offensive chemistry. Let's see. Is the skepticism on offense and defense players at the first and second half against Eagles? It's okay though, TJ. We'll bounce back next week for sure. We still who that. Well, look, I just think that it was just a rough game. I don't think anything is going on or anything wrong with this football team. I'm not going to sit up here and analyze and overanalyze a game where we know that the chances of a team going undefeated for the entire season is, the possibility of that is very, very slim. I rather this happen early than it happen late. Hopefully they can fix these issues. But it also just shows us that the New Orleans Saints, are human. They're a team that looked good over the last couple of weeks. Offensive explosion here, offensive explosion there. But if you don't bring your A game every single week, these other teams, they trying to win too. I love our defense, but what's up with them at the tight end? I don't know. I wish I can answer that question for you, but I can't. Defense did their job. Look, I'm not mad at the defense. That's why, the only play that I'm criticizing is 3rd and 16. Look, you got to get this dude on the ground. Can't be running into each other. Other than that, it was inevitable. It was inevitable, folks, that a big explosive play was going to happen. The time that they were out there on the field. Like, we look at the time of possession and all that kind of stuff. Like, the Eagles had the ball, time of possession, 32 minutes. That's football time. You know what I'm saying? That's like the 60 minutes that's in the game. We're not talking about in real time. Like, these dudes out on the field 20, 25 minutes. Now, come on, man. What are we doing here? Like that, man, that you out there way too long. So when you look, man, it was just 32 minutes and Saints had 27. Like, no. Like, you got to think about real time, man. They were just, man, it was tough day at the office. Tough day at the office, man. I'm not making no excuses. Stop whining. It was a dogfight today. Yeah, I mean, I don't know who whining, but, it was a dogfight. It definitely was a dogfight. I ain't whining at all. I don't know if that was directed towards me, but like I said, I've given the Philadelphia Eagles credit. Like, it just wasn't the Saints' day. It was just a tough day at the office. But, a bad week for me. JSU is all good. Yeah, man. JSU went out there and got the brakes beat off them by Grambling. Credit to Grambling, went out there and did what they needed to do. Once again, another team that was coming off a high, dominating Southern the week before. That's why you can't believe them press clippings, man. Can't believe the hype. The moment you start believing the hype, that's the moment that you start losing. And see, if you open the middle of the O-line, what you expect to happen? The tight ends went stupid 200. Yo, a sheesh. Yeah, man, that's crazy. Defense is great, except in crucial moments, specifically in the dome. I don't know what happens. And that ain't necessary. That ain't true, man. I say, man, we can't let this emotion get the best of them. Like, just like the Saints have given up plays in the dome, they've made plays in the dome. All right, I mean, come on, man. Like, it's easy for us to sit up here and talk about the negative things because it's coming off a loss. But I mean, they didn't make plays in the dome, man. They didn't seal deals. I mean, look, we remember the PJ Williams interception on Tom Brady. We brought back for a touchdown. We remember the Marshawn Lattimore interception. Off of Jeffrey's hands. Like, man, they done made plays inside the Superdome. The 58 yard touchdown. I mean, field goal by Will Lutz against the Houston Texans. So it just feels that way. It just feels as if, oh man, it just seemed like it's always happened because in certain situations, like when we're thinking negatively, it's just human nature for us to think about negative moments. But they made just as many plays as they, didn't make. Cam, thank you very much for the 499. Says, in any close game, are confident or comfortable. Appreciate your work. Look, I mean, I honestly thought until the game was over and Derek Carr threw that interception, I thought that the Saints were going to win the football game. I'm serious. Like, this ain't me being a homer. This ain't me being arrogant. Like, even like on X, I tweeted like when Dallas Goedert got the 61-yard game, put the ball down to the 4. I was like, man, I think they need to go ahead and let them score quick. And they did. Like, they still had a minute and a few seconds left on the clock. The Saints had one timeout. You had plenty of time. You didn't have to rush anything. You did not have to rush anything. You still had everything in front of you. You had, okay, the ball was on a 30. I think that Mason Tipton, I think he may have got like 7 yards. So you're at the 37. You didn't have to rush anything. You did not have to rush. He got out of bounds 55 seconds, so that saves a timeout. So you still had at least second, third, and fourth down to try to work your way down the field. You also have a kicker, even though Chosen, mentioned this, he a little wishy-washy, but he does have the capability of kicking a 60-yard field goal. So it wasn't like, it was just the worst thing that possibly happened. You had opportunity. You could have nickel and dimed it down the field. You could have played the sidelines. You could have played the middle of the field if they were playing prevent coverage. You did not have to throw that ball the way that he did. You did not have to throw the ball the way that he did, man. I think he rushed that. I think that he kind of panicked a little bit. And, I get it. You trying to make a play, but that was just not the move. You want to put your guys in a position to make plays, which, he tried to do, but that was not necessary at that time. If you had to take a sack, then just take the freaking sack. Live to fight another day. Or like if somebody working the sidelines, like throw that thing out of bounds or something like that. Like you're out of the, I want to say he was out of the tackle box, or he was close to being out of the tackle box. So I just didn't understand that. And James, thank you very much for the 199. Says 40-piece extra crispy graham fam. Yeah, man, that was pretty bad right there. But at the end of the day, I think Jackson State has been doing pretty well over the last couple of years versus Grambling. Grambling seems like they're kind of finding their footing again. But we'll see, man. We'll see. See, I told y'all Chase Young was overrated. He just has a look. Granderson, undrafted, looks way better. I don't know what you talking about, dude. Why? Because he had a sack and a half? Like, did you not see Chase Young? Like, the Brian Brzee sack. See, this is why I want people to stop going to box scores and looking at, Carl Granderson did this. He had one. Like, nah, bro. Sometimes you got to look at the game in itself and seeing what these dudes doing. On that 4th and 1, where everybody thought that Philadelphia was going to do the tush push, and they end up handing the ball off to Saquon Barkley, who got that tackle for loss to get the turnover on downs. When they got pressure on Jalen Hurts tried to bounce the ball. He tried to bounce outside. He had to stay in the pocket when Brian Brzee came right behind him. Why did he have to stay in the pocket? That's because Chase Young set the edge, and he wasn't able to bounce outside. There was also a play where they had a player that was wide open. I want to say it was Jahan Dotson. He actually, he actually was open. But the pressure that Chase Young put into the face of Jalen Hurts forced him to throw the ball off his back foot and the ball sail out of bounds for the Saints to be able to punt. All I'm saying is you can't sit up here and just say all of a sudden like, this dude is a bust. No, or this dude is not, he's overrated. He is not. Like we are just systematically programmed, in my opinion. We're systematically programmed to take a look at sacks. The guy making sacks. The guy is getting pressure on a quarterback. We don't look at, the guy got the tackle for loss. We don't look at how the sack took place, because we systematically have been programmed to feel like if a guy isn't getting 2 and 3 and 4 sacks, then all of a sudden like he's overrated. That man's fingerprints are all over that game. It's all over that game. So to say that, he's overrated, I don't know about that, man. I would my rebuttal would be go and watch what he did in this game. Go back and watch what he did in this game and see how some of these sacks came into play. Like overrated, nah. I was say overrated, nah. I can't accept that, man. Like, because football is way more than just sacking a quarterback from a defensive lineman position. Thank you, TJ. People be getting into the box scores when trying to consider how pivotal a player is lazy. Yeah, because my thing is, like, I understand. we have the eye test, right? What do our eyes tell us? You know, what do our eyes tell us? And we like, okay, Carl Granderson was all over the field. He had the sack, he had the forced fumble, you know, like clear, like he came to play. But that other guy, like I said, that was setting the edge, that probably caused Saquon Barkley to bounce back the other way for Alontae Taylor to get the tackle, or, you know, like the quarterback having to stay in the pocket because he can't move to the outside because this guy has leverage, and the other defensive end get the sack. Like, we don't pay attention to that stuff. You know, so I don't know. I don't know, man. All I know is that man was active in this game. I know that he made some plays in this game. A couple guys were able to get some TFLs because of him. They were able to get a turnover on downs because of him. Like, I don't know. Like, I get it. Maybe y'all want this man to go off for 4 or 5 sacks because, you know, he kind of looks that part. But I mean, it could have been a lot worse. Let's see. Beginning of the year, y'all thought we would have had a win through the first 4 games, and now y'all hating, freaking Saints fan. Who hating? Like, I don't say like who. I'm trying to see. I mean, I've seen some people questioning some of the play calling, but I don't see nobody hating. I don't see nobody hating on the team. I see some people questioning like some defensive plays, offensive plays, you know, maybe some of the play from certain individuals today, but I don't see nobody really hating like the season over. Any other team coming in here trying to talk is hurt, and we don't know why. The defense should slap the offense for this. Yeah, man, you got to win a game like this. Drew would have 8 of that 1 minute up, so people need to stop putting him and Breeze together after Carr 2 good games. I don't know who knowing that. I don't know who did that, but you shouldn't. Chase Young may not be getting a sack, but he is a good player. Yeah, he playing good. Yeah, he is playing good. I mean, if he didn't have any statistics at all whatsoever, you know, like wasn't really being active. Like even in the first game. Now, the first game, he didn't even have a statistic, registered like a tackle or anything in that game, but he was like all over the field. Like I say, man, sometimes like these stats don't always tell a story. They don't. Who's saying that? That's what I want to know. Like who's hating? You know, who hating on the Saints? We all knew this was coming. It's okay. We bounce back. Let's see. Why do we bring up Drew when we lose, but celebrate when we win? Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. At this point, like Drew Brees ain't coming back. You know, it's great to remember those days, but comparing the quarterbacks to Drew Brees, like, man, those days are over. Like nobody believes that Derek Carr is the second coming of Drew Brees. I say, and I stand by this, you can win games with Derek Carr. You can win them. You can win with him, but you ain't about to win like consistently, like because of just him putting the team on his back. That's just not him. Man, everybody knows Carr ain't no Breeze. Let's be real. I mean, he not. But like I said, you can win with him. And when you come up and devise a game plan that can be suitable to his skill set and it is finding success, yeah, you can do that. I don't expect us to win every game or what not, but today there was absolutely no excuse to lose today. The defense handed you the game not once, but twice. Not once, not twice, but 3 times, and you couldn't do it. I agree with that. You know, I agree with it. You know, the fact is, like, you can't lose a game like this. Like, you aren't supposed to lose a game like this. But, I mean, I think I get solace in knowing that if Nick Sirianni wasn't just as terrible as he was, like this game could have really just like we would have really been mad watching this football game if he was a better coach. You know, like I really feel that way. Like their game plan was like really good. Let's see. Rest in peace, Mercury Morris. Yeah, man. Rest in peace to the legendary running back Mercury Morris, man. He was part of the 72 Dolphins team. Like we all remember like those teams always popping bottles after the last team, that had an O end up losing. They always pop a bottle of champagne. But it seemed like that room getting a little bit more empty, man. But that's, rest in peace to him, man. He took so much pride in that 72 Dolphins team, man. And the fact that nobody seemed to break that record. Now, if you want to kind of look at it from the certain standpoint, I mean, the Patriots did go 17-0. 16 and 0. Yeah, they went 16-0. They did have a perfect regular season. So they did win more games because I want to say at that time the Miami Dolphins, they went 14. They went 14-0 in the regular season. Let me stroll down a little bit and then take a few more, and then we can go ahead and get up out of here. Says, people, it's best for us to see how we bounce back from this. We stayed in the game. We should have kicked those 2 field goals. We win. Yeah, look, man, I don't think anybody's like just jumping off the Superdome. I just think that people are kind of taken back at the fact that the defense kind of gave the offense opportunities to be able to capitalize on. And, over the last couple of weeks, they did. But this is what happens when you don't. Like what Deuce McAllister said on Fox 8 last week, they didn't win nothing yet. Yeah, you got to keep playing. I'm kind of glad that we lost. Hope it will make Saints fans humble. It a week-to-week league. Let's see. We have not done ish yet. So when we win, ish up. When we lose, ish up. Well, I'm gonna say this. I feel the same way. I don't want to say I'm glad they lost. I'm not. I'm not glad they lost. But if you're gonna lose, at least you lose a game like this in heartbreaking fashion early in the season where you can make the corrections. Let's see. Do the Cowboys are 28-6 right now? Are we that good? See, like I said, that's the narrative now. That's the narrative. Now we're not looking at the fact that the Cowboys are playing a team that had the best regular season record in football, and they were on the doorstep of the Super Bowl last season. We're not paying attention to that. What we're looking at is the record, which is 0-2, and the Ravens. Once again, folks, I keep telling y'all, these narratives that are put out here is for us to be able to kind of question our team and question the legitimacy of them. When I see a 28-6 versus the Baltimore Ravens, I see a team that is really doggone good. Like, it don't get no better than the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, they lost last week to the Raiders, but this is a good football team. Really good football team. So to say, okay, well, they're looking bad against the Baltimore Ravens? Of course, they a lot of teams gonna look bad against the Baltimore Ravens. So I can't nah, man. So I'm not even gonna play that. I think that the Saints are a solid football team. I think that they, over the last couple of weeks, they look like the best team in football. But to say all of a sudden they lose today, they just gonna fall, you know what I'm saying? They just gonna fall face first. And they just not going to be good, and they just not going to win football games. Nah, man. Come on, man. We can't overreact like that. Let's see. Panthers blowing out the Raiders. This game was tough. 50-50 game, not worried. Don't worry, the Falcons will be ready for next week, but we got to handle business this week because this definitely will be a hard game. Yeah, it's going to be a hard game for the Saints. Just like this game was hard. All these games are hard, man. All these games are hard. Like, the Falcons are a football team that they got something to prove. But I tell you this is a good matchup for the New Orleans Saints. This is a better matchup because now at least you know for a fact that you got a quarterback that's going to be a stationary target. So if you getting pressure on him, at least you know that he going to go down. Like, you ain't got to worry about him extending plays, moving from left to right. Like, the Saints, if they got any flaws defensively, it's the fact that they're traditionally based defense. Like they count on a quarterback to kind of stay where he needs to be in order for them to make plays. I don't know. They just I guess they just never grasped the concept yet of well, this is a league where you have more quarterbacks that's going to be able to move around like Jalen Hurts, that's going to be able to move outside the pocket, that's going to be able to run, if the pocket breaks down. So I think that that's something, a concept that they need to grasp, because it just seems like this is just a reoccurring thing. Like anytime like there's a quarterback that has the ability to scramble or improvise, they struggle. They struggle against them. Like, and you're paying so much attention to the quarterback not getting outside the pocket that now you got a spy, and that spy probably could help you out against a wide receiver, or he could help you out against a running back. Now, he has to pay attention to the quarterback. Now you're counting on maybe a linebacker that kind of struggles in coverage, especially like if you have a tight end like Dallas Goedert or TJ Hawkinson or something like that. So this was the strategy. It just wasn't a good matchup, man. I was concerned about this game when I saw it. Like I said, when I seen the Cowboys, I was like, okay, they good. Like you'll probably see Dak probably scramble a little bit, but he's trying to make plays from the pocket. I mean, I think that's the best thing that the Saints have going for them going into the game versus Atlanta next week. You have a stationary target. He's not trying to move out the pocket. Kirk Cousins not trying to move out the pocket. He's not trying to make plays with his legs. So, he's going to be counting on a really solid offensive line to hold up in order for him to make plays to Darnell Mooney and Drake London and Kyle Pitts and crew. So there you go. CJ Garner-Johnson in the locker room talking about the Saints. They ain't no contenders. They pretenders. They have Derek Carr. Remember that. Well, I mean, look, he has a right to talk. He has a right to talk, man. Like, we can talk about, like, dude won. You know what I'm saying? His team won. Like, we talk about, oh, man, he did this, he did that, man. He got beat on that play, but his team won at the end of the day. So he has a right to talk. He has a right to talk, man. When this dude was on the New Orleans Saints team, we all loved this dude. Oh, man, he a goon, man. He one of us. And all of a sudden he goes over to the other side, like now he's chirping, and we don't like it now because what he's talking about is the team that we care about the most. So all in all, I'm not mad at it, man. I'm not mad at it because we know if the Philadelphia Eagles would have lost, we would have been in that thing trolling him. Call it for what it is. Offensive scheme wasn't enough, and the defense was tired. At the end of the day, we lose. We got to move on to the next week. Yep, pretty much. That's right. Kurt gonna get sacked. Yeah, man. I mean, if the Saints can be able to get them down on the ground, but look, what I am very optimistic about is the fact that the New Orleans Saints were able to get pressure against the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia Eagles, man, that's a tough offensive line. That's a tough offensive line, man. That's a huge mass of humanity on that offensive line. And that was before Lane Johnson left the game and Mekhi Becton was in there. The 1.5 sacks and the Brian Brzee sack, that came in while Mekhi Becton and one or two of Brian Brzee sacks. That happened when Mekhi Becton and Lane Johnson was in the game. So at least you have that going for you because they're going up against a really good offensive line in Atlanta. Vine Too Real. Yep. I mean, it's true. We do have Carr, but nobody fearing their quarterback either. Yeah, I mean, look, Jalen Hurts, you're up and down game, but man, he made plays when he needed to make plays. I mean, the offense of the Saints, man. I mean, it was little to non-existent. That to me, you had a few plays that were made. I think the most impressive play was the Alvin Kamara catch over Zach Bond. That was probably the most impressive play. And even like the touchdown with Chris Olave, man, I mean, that was like a Dirk Nowitzki type jumper or something. Y'all know how Dirk, he just shoots the ball like you see it like it stays in the air forever and then it drops straight in. Like, that's kind of like what it was. I'm like, did he have to like put that much air on the ball? Cause he like almost threw the ball out of bounds. Luckily, Chris Olave is a beast and he caught the pass. We not going to win every game. LOL. We not going 17-0. Surprise. I said this was going to be a tough matchup. It happened. Move on and learn from it. No one's to blame. Just give the Eagles credit. Simple. Yeah, I mean, look, the game plan was good. Now, you got to be able to capitalize and, put up some points. Nobody said it would be easy. The Cowboys blitzed the Saints, which cater to the offense. The Eagles don't blitz. And that's let me see. They they didn't have success. That's the reason why they didn't have success. 2 space eats in the middle and speed at linebacker. The Saints played well, but the offense let them down today. Yeah, I mean, Fangio, he doesn't blitz, man. I mean, he tries to get pressure with 4. And the fact that he wasn't blitzing, the fact that he just counted on those guys to play fundamentally, they were able to. LOL, I bet Jerry Jones looking at the game, face must be turning red. Yeah, man, 28-6. Pretty bad stuff right there. Will Harris needs to study himself after the game. Dude, let Dallas smoke him. I don't know, man. I don't know if this like the point where we just picking out things, because I can remember Will Harris laying a hit on CeeDee Lamb, like, that a jar the ball loose. I don't know, man. Now what I would suggest to you is, man, first though, I would say like kind of calm down a little bit. I know you're upset because the Saints lost and we trying to find reasons why they lost, and every little thing that kind of slid under the rug we paying attention to, but let's not beat up on these dudes too much, man. I mean, Will Harris, I think he played okay today. He did some things, so I can remember him making a tackle for a tackle for loss. And, is this, we knew these things. Like, we knew these things. Like, despite the fact of the Saints kind of covering these imperfections up over the last couple of weeks, we knew that they had some issues. We know that the Saints wasn't very content with the safety position with Jordan Howden and Will Harris. We knew it. Right? That's the reason why they tried to bring in Justin Simmons. We know the offensive line was going to have struggles. We knew that if something happens to some of these players on the offensive line, that they would be in trouble. We knew these things. So we can't like just look at the first 2 weeks and be like, well, they didn't show those things, so I guess they wasn't that big of a deal. Yes, they were. There's going to come a time, Who Dat Nation, where you're going to go up against a team, and if you lack in any category, they're going to be able to expose it. And what happened today, the Saints, they've been covering up for these imperfections. The imperfections showed themselves. It's nothing more, nothing less, in my opinion. My question now is, what are you going to do to respond? How are you going to respond to these adverse situations? Are you going to allow these situations to define you week after week? Or are you going to try to come up with a better game plan and work yourself out of the situation, have this bad taste in your mouth and realize that you don't want this taste in it anymore? So do better. It's just that simple, man. Like, I just feel like us sitting up here nitpicking and talking about who didn't do what and where they were supposed to be. It was just one of them games, man. It's just one of them games. I watched Coastal Carolina yesterday. Coastal Carolina took on Virginia, right? Coastal Carolina has averaged over 250 yards rushing each game over the last 3 weeks. They beat Jacksonville State, they beat William and Mary, and they beat Temple. All right. They go up against an ACC team in Virginia who is middle of the pack ACC, and they got hitting them out at home in Conway, South Carolina. But do I look at that game and be like, man, you know what? Man, even though they started off 3-0, man, they ain't got a chance to win the Sun Belt. No. You play long enough, you're going to go up against a team or an individual that's going to have your number. Plain and simple. The question is, how do you respond after a loss like this? How do you respond? How do you respond? You know, like you give up 170 yards to a tight end. You know, you on a 3rd and 16. The offense, you know, looking stale. Guys was missing blocking assignments. Offensive linemen on the ground. Like all this stuff right here is basically videotape for you to realize we ain't fix all these issues. Because all we seen Tuesday on the off day of the New Orleans Saints, we seen Dennis Allen being interviewed by Rich Eisen. We seen Honey Badger on NFL Network. We seen Cam Jordan on Colin Cowherd. We seen Rashid Shaheed on, you know, Up and Adams with Kay Adams. But we seen all these different people, you know, Kay Adams, excuse me. We seen all these different things happen. Everybody's saying your praise. You're the toast of the town. Clint Kubiak, the new Wonder Kid, the new Sean McVay. Heard this stuff all week long. And if you listen to stuff long enough, you start to believe it. You start to believe the hype. You start to believe it, man. You know, Milli Vanilli at one time probably felt like they were the best pop artists of all time, right? At one time, but you know, everybody know their story, right? Man, we great, we wonderful. But your lip singing, bruh. That ain't you on them tracks. That ain't you on them tracks, bruh. So all I'm saying is you play long enough. You know, you will be humble. And sometimes you're not as good as they say you are, right? And you're not as bad as they say you are. I feel like the New Orleans Saints are somewhere in the middle. But for the first 2 weeks, I'm going to be honest with you, it felt really good that the New Orleans Saints looked as great as they did, made us feel really good. But it also, you know, if you're looking at this game today, like the Saints just lost the Super Bowl, I just feel like maybe, you know, you had these expectations about where this team was going to end up. And you saw the fact that the Atlanta Falcons played the Eagles and the game was like competitive. And you looked at the first couple of weeks of the Saints was like, man, they put up 40 some odd points and y'all struggling against the Eagles. And you probably thought like, oh man, we about to manhandle these boys. That's not how it works, folks. When people start talking like that, man, I just kind of nod my head, man. Like, because if I'm telling you, get off social media, don't say a word. If you are talking to an Atlanta Falcon fan and they say, we going to beat y'all next week because look what we did to the Eagles, I'm out. I ain't got nothing else to say to you because football is about matchups. Football is about, you know, like schemes and strategies. You might look like world beaters one week against a team that is very, very talented. And then the next week, you think you're going to put that together, that same game plan? Nah. Not going to happen. Not going to happen, folks. Not going to happen. TJ, I'm just happy that the Cowboys losing Jerry Jones mad looking like an apple. The car don't run unless the running backs do. Yeah, man. Let's see. Aaron says, why are we acting like most of us didn't already expect the Saints to lose against the Eagles going into the season? I don't know, Aaron. You know, I was mentioning, and shouts out to Aaron. I know he did a live right after the game, man. Shouts out to you, brother. But I think it was just the fact of the hype. It was the hype, Aaron. Like everybody just kind of bought into it. A part of me kind of bought into it. Like, man, this team pretty good. You know, this team pretty doggone good, man. We could probably beat something. And I still feel that way. Now, you know, I didn't expect, like, I expect for the Saints, when I did NFC South Roundtable, I did predictions. I had the Saints going 10-7. 10-7. You know, like, somebody said to me after these same first 2 wins, and they said in the comments, they was like, man, you acting like they going 10-7, like you said something. I see 12. That's you. Because all you doing right now is basically trying to get receipts. The season ain't over yet. Like, that's the thing about it is, man, we be looking for validation from different people. We be trying to look for it like, man, they said we ain't going to be nothing. Like, and we start buying into it, man. Football is an emotional game. I'm telling you, man. You played football Are you playing football? You can speak better than others. You ain't never as good as people make you out to be. You ain't never as bad as people make you out to be. So you should always kind of be even keel when it comes to it. So this is a competitive game. I don't care who they are. Any team can be any team on any given Sunday, no matter the record, no matter the limitations, doesn't matter. And the first time you go up to that weigh-in and you towering over your opponent and you look down on them and chuckle, you already lost because you already underestimating your opponent. Should never do that. Eagles fans was talking big-ish yesterday because they believe in their team. And I'm pretty sure Saints fans was talking right with them. Had a feeling today was going to be tough. They played hard, though. That's what I get out of this situation, because I don't expect for this offense to look like they did today very often. I don't feel like they're going to look like this. So the fact that you know that your defense can hold down a really explosive offense with a mobile quarterback in Jalen Hurts, a really good running back in Saquon Barkley, a talented wide receiver in Devontae Smith, and a really good tight end in Dallas Goedert, and hold them to no points, through 2 quarters. So to me, all the offense got to do is be solid. All they got to do is just be solid. You ain't got to be top 5. You ain't got to be you could be 12, 15. Just put up some points. Just put up some decent points. Capitalize when the defense gives you something, and you'll be sitting right here at 3-0. You had a fumble recovery, you had a interception, and you had a blocked punt. All these things set you up to be able to be prosperous, and you couldn't get it done. You couldn't get it done. Some of them you walked away with absolutely nothing. Chase was getting held all game. Granderson, the best defensive end on the team. Yeah. That leads me to my next point, folk. I'm going to be honest. I know I keep on saying this, but it's just the truth. I'm just being honest. And I say that, I know people wonder why I say it so much. Is because I just want people to understand I'm just giving my opinion. I think that it's time for the New Orleans Saints to understand and realize that Cam Jordan is not what he once was. Cam Jordan has been starting on this defensive line for 14 years. For 14 years, 14 seasons, this man has been a cornerstone player, an all-time great, Hall of Famer in my book. But the only reason why, I'm probably gonna take some scrutiny for this, but it is what it is. The only reason why Cam Jordan is in the starting rotation is because he's Cam Jordan. Cam Jordan, Peyton Turner were on the left and right side, respectively, on that big 65-yard run for Saquon Barkley. Now, he ran up the middle. Okay, I'll give you that. Ran up the middle, so that's the big boys up front. That's y'all fault. They opened up that lane and let them through. But Cam Jordan is not what he used to be. And I just think that the Saints at this point are trying to, I don't know, keep us, make him feel like, man, you still the same Cam Jordan, but he is not. I think going forward, I think that the Saints need to allow Chase Young and Carl Granderson to be your starting defensive ends, followed by Brian Brzee, Nate Shepard. You can put Christian Boyd out there in between. When Colin Saunders comes back, he can be a part of that rotation as well. But Cam Jordan, they got to have a conversation with him. They got to sit him down. They got to talk to him. They got to let him know, hey, man, we love you, Cam. We still feel like you have something to offer. I'm not saying sit him on a bench and have him riding the pine or nothing like that. But I do feel like he doesn't need to be a starting defensive end. I mean, he really going back, I really didn't see him. I didn't see the explosiveness, man. I didn't see the quick twitch. I just don't. And like I said, I feel like if you can have him in a rotation, he'll be able to do stuff, but having him go out there like he's still starting caliber Cam Jordan at 35 years old, I don't think that's it. I think that you need to roll with Chase Young and Carl Granderson as your starting defensive ends. Like kicking Cam Jordan to the inside and having them out there in a NASCAR package and all that. I just feel like they just kind of, trying to I'll say it, kind of like catering to his ego a little bit. Like they just cater to his ego. Like, man, you still the man. You still Cam Jordan, but I love Cam Jordan. Like he's one of the greatest New Orleans Saints players in their history. But it just comes a time when you're faced with football immortality, man. Like, and he's not that guy anymore. He's just not. Like, there's no way in the world. Like, think about it. There's no way in the world. If Cam Jordan going up against Lane Johnson and getting stonewalled at the line of scrimmage, it don't get no better than Lane Johnson. Like, Lane Johnson is, to me, the best right tackle in football. You might have some other guys that you can put into that conversation, but it don't get no better than Lane Johnson. So if you're getting stonewalled by him, but when you have like backup right tackles coming in, guys, that's just kind of off the strap heap, or guys that ain't really, done anything, like that's supposed to be barbecue chicken for Cam Jordan. And like I said, it's just not there anymore, man. Like these young guys, they look explosive, man. They look like it looks like they going up, what I'm saying? Like it seems like, they able to get pressure on a quarterback. It was just him losing weight didn't work out for him. It definitely was NASCAR, but on the other team, Lane Johnson was out. Lane Johnson was not out the entire game. Lane Johnson was not out the entire game. Lane Johnson left the game after he suffered a concussion midway through the game, but he was out there for the most part. Mekhi Becton ended up leaving the game. So he was in the game. Not the entire game, but there were times where if you go back and watch the tape, go back and watch the film, you'll see Cam Jordan lined up against Lane Johnson. Now, I know I ain't tripping. I know I ain't tripping. Maybe I'm tripping or something like that, but, TJ, where do you think Willie Rowe ranks on the list of all-time greatest Saints? I think he up there. Top 3, top 4, maybe. Yeah, he definitely up there. No, Lane Johnson was sick. He was in first quarter, TJ. Yeah, but I mean, he still went up against Cam Jordan. He left the game. They say he was throwing up, but he also he left the game officially because of a concussion. So he was out there he still was out there for a few plays. And I seen him going up against Cam Jordan. And honestly, even if that's the case, that kind of confirms my whole point in the first place. So if he did leave the game early, you would think like somebody with the talent. Like if this was 2018, 2019, if there were 2018, 2019, and Lane Johnson leaves out of the game early, prematurely, do you honestly feel like that wouldn't be barbecue chicken for Cam Jordan? It would be. It would be. All I'm saying is, I get what you're saying, about Lane Johnson not being out there, but, he did line up against him at times, but you had some other guys come in, and it was pretty much the same. Says, I'm agreeing with you, Cam wasn't doing anything. Look, I get it. My whole point is you still it's still a purpose for him, but I don't think that he needs to be starting at this stage of his career right now. I don't see it. I don't see the explosiveness. I don't see some of the plays that I would see Cam Jordan making. I just don't. And I just feel like these younger guys can serve a purpose. Like, there's no need for you to be sitting up here paying Chase Young 1 year, $13 million if you ain't going to utilize them. You know, if you're not going to utilize them, if you're not going to do the right things to try to put him in a position to succeed, there's no need. Like, you should have just let him go. You should have just let him go, man. You should have just let, like, dude go out here and get picked up by somebody else. Carl Granderson is the best defensive end on the Saints team right now. And Chase Young is the second. And Cam Jordan at this, like, based on like whatever else they got left over there, he's the third. That's not bad. That's what you expect. That's football. Look, that is kind of like how football kind of works. You have that seasoned grizzly veteran that paid his dues, that's been on the battlefield for a long time. Then all of a sudden, you know, he starts to slow down a little bit. Then the next young bull come through. You know, and he's out there wrecking shop on the battlefield. And that don't mean anything wrong with that former war hero. That don't mean nothing wrong with him. I mean, he just been through a lot of battles. There's still a place for him. Like, there's still a place for him, man. But I just don't feel like he needs to be in the starting rotation. I just don't. Stop embarrassing yourself. It's okay. Who that nation, little boy? You just talking. What are we talking about? I don't know what exactly what's happening here. I thought the Eagles had the worst rush defense in the league. I don't know. You know, I didn't say they had the worst rush defense in the league because I don't pay that much attention to analytics. I don't think that analytics tell the story. I think sometimes they do. You know, based on like, you know, certain performances and stuff like that. But I don't think even in certain cases, they tell the entire story. You should never underestimate your opponent. That's the way I feel. I love Cam, but bruh, the Eagles were the more talented team. Plus, they played their asses off today, LOL. But that's the NFL. I think we're going to be a playoff team this year at best. Well, I mean, the Saints are where a lot of people thought they would be. Probably even better than what people thought they would be. Yeah, they was like, man, the Saints might win one game. Well, so we ain't forced. We got other fans in here. They changed schemes this game, and the Saints line trash, so we couldn't run. I think when it came down to it, I just think that they just put an emphasis on neutralizing Alvin Kamara. They came into that, challenging the linebackers, challenging the defensive line, challenging them guys, you know, to go out here and try to shut down Alvin Kamara, and they did just that. That's bad. Look, where my football players at? Where my basketball players at? Where my baseball players at? When you get challenged by your manager, if you're baseball or coach, if you're in football or basketball or any other sport, like, you know that you take that challenge. Like, if you have any pride in yourself and pride in your team and pride in your ability, you're going to accept that challenge. If they tell you, man, this dude out here, man, this dude went for 130 yards, he think he going to do that to you. I don't know, man. He might do it to you, man. He ain't doing that to me. Nah, I don't know, man. Like, you did let that other dude get past you when he broke that tackle. Nah, bro, ain't happening to me. I'm going to show you. You know, if you got any pride in yourself and your ability, you're going to rise to the occasion, man. There's that old saying, you can never underestimate the heart of a champion. You can never underestimate the heart of a man, a woman, a child, if they are hell-bent on proving somebody wrong. And they did that today. And I'm not one of those people who, you know, can dish it but can't take it. So I'm okay with it. You know, look, there's no excuse. I'm not going to make excuses for the Saints. I'm not. They lost today. They lost, plain and simple. They lost. Season ain't over. Still got plenty more football ahead of you. Still have everything in front of you. that's just what it is. You're not going to win all the games. Some teams are lucky, on a collegiate level to be able to, run the gauntlet. Only one team in NFL history was able to run the gauntlet. So, sitting there at 2-0, you still have everything in front of you. You got a division opponent in the Falcons that's coming up. Got to go on the road for that one. Hopefully you can come away with a victory in that, because if you don't, then, you probably can be sitting there at 2-3. Because after that, you got to play Kansas City in Arrowhead, which I know for a fact that you're probably going to go into that game as a big underdog, because now the Eagles kind of reset the pecking order back to where it was, where the Falcons up here, followed by Tampa, followed by the Saints, and Carolina underneath here. So it kind of just set the pecking order back up. So now they're going to go back to saying that the Saints are going to be losing by 6. And, Derek Carr, I don't know. Let me look at him. They shut down Alvin Kamara last week. Can they do it again? Stuff like that. But so they probably did in some ways, in some cases, they probably did the Saints a favor by getting some of this attention off of them. Now they can go back to kind of, being a silent killer, and I'm okay with that. But thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. State of the Saints podcast powered by BETUS. Sign up, get up to 150% on your first deposit and up to 125% on your next, second, and third deposit. All you have to do is use the promo code YouTube150. That's YouTube150. Also, shouts out to everybody that came and checked out the post-game show on Bleacher Report. I'm putting a link in the comments right now. If you didn't check out Saints Talk with Timothy J. Jones on Bleacher Report, it's there for you. I'm asking people to follow me on Bleacher Report. Download the Bleacher Report app. You can search TJAY Jones 8. You'll be able to see my profile, be able to follow me there. And I really do appreciate your time. You can interact with me on X at TJAY Jones 8. And also, if you can hit that like button, we got 521 people watching this. We got up to close to 600 at one time. So I'm just asking everybody to hit the like button. Shouts out to everybody that donated to the State of the Saints podcast on this edition. I really do appreciate that. Shouts out to everybody that commented throughout the show. We'll be back probably not tomorrow. I'll be on the road most of the day, but we'll be back more than likely on Tuesday. If I get to my destination at a certain time, I might be able to do a final thoughts episode on Monday, but Tuesday, we got the NFC South Roundtable. That should be interesting. You got a couple teams that were undefeated in the Bucs and the Saints that, suffer losses. So it's going to be interesting to see what James has to say and, what myself had to say. And if the Falcons can somehow knock off the champs, what they have to say, Carolina, they finally can do some talking. It's been a minute, thought they would mute. But, it should be fun, man. It should be fun. To watch the NFC South Roundtable. Make sure that y'all subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. Have a good morning, noon, night, whenever you're checking out this podcast. And like always, all I got to say is,
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. It's all dog around this mug. I'm good.